Welcome to Good Dates Gone Bad. I'm your host, Lee, and this is my guest.
Hi, I'm Snow.
Welcome to the show, Snow. All right, so we've been friends for a long, long time. I'm so glad that you're here. Cheers. Thanks for coming
Thank
on
you
the
for
show.
having me.
Fun,
Glad
fun.
to be here. Happy
Yep.
holidays.
She's going to tell us what is a good date to her, and then she's going to tell us a bad date. It's also game day. It's college game day rivals football. So I am dressed for Florida State because that's my home team.
I'm not dressed for anything because Tulane's trying to claw their way up into something. But go Green Wave. Ooh. And I think, unfortunately, Michigan beat Ohio. So
yeah, and I don't think Florida
good.
State's going to beat the Gators this year, but I don't want to ruin anything because sometimes there's surprises. So it's a big day for big upsets, right? It's usually what happens on these game days.
Yes.
So anyway, what is a good date to you? What does it mean to have a good date?
Oh, a good date is a good date is well thought out. It's planned, especially if it's early in the whole situation.
Yeah.
So you want to, of course, I'm a foodie, so it's got to involve some great food, probably a little wine. If it's a guy that I really like, I might have a martini. But, like kind of a nice dinner date.
Sure.
Just one drink and see what his table manners are like too, right?
Sure.
Can he deal with his napkin?
Does he blow his nose with a napkin at the table?
Yeah.
Manners.
The way they're dressed, of course, the way they smell.
That's
and
very important.
the way their hair is done. If they have hair, hopefully.
So they have to look stylish.
Yeah.
They have to, and have class.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are all good things. Some people don't really care about that. Some people would like to go to a bar, even if it's a dive bar, and just eat whatever, drink whatever. But that's why I asked that question, because it has so many different meanings to everyone, right? We all have the things that we like. We know what we like and what's important.
Yeah, to me, it's a whole experience, and I want to be wined and dined. So if you're up for it, then that's what it's about.
She's single, but not for long. All right. So what about a bad date? Ooh. Rather than it being the opposite of that, like, what's a...
Yeah, so a bad date would be where they don't really plan something, and then maybe you are going back and forth about where to go, and they're indecisive, and you can tell already, wow, this person needs a lot of direction.
Him-hawing around is annoying, isn't it?
Yes, right? So
it's like, just make a decision.
I mean, you can get there and hand over the reins after a while, but I think if you're just trying to get to know each other, you should have an idea and get creative, because there's so many neat things to do. So when you get that creativity,
They say, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. And they're like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because now I'm going to go find something really fun. And then if you say no, that's going to be annoying. So just have a decision. Decide, right?
Yeah.
Some direction.
A bad texter is a really turned on, because we use text so much, or Messenger, or whatever it may be. But if you're not skilled in like messaging, because I think, it's okay to pick up the phone and call and stuff, but you need to be kind of on point with your messaging strategy, right?
Or at least be willing to go back and hit the edit button.
Yeah.
And retype it so it doesn't say funny auto words that make no sense at all, right?
Yeah, like some people just like to do dictation, but they don't check what they're actually saying. And so they're not editing. And I'm an editor, and a writer, so I'm going to scrutinize your grammar and your punctuation.
You say, I'm gonna, and they say, I'm gorilla.
Yeah, right.
What?
I know, yeah, what?
What does that mean?
And so I think that those are bad signs. And then, of course, going to a place that you settle for, where you're like, yeah, this place is pretty good. And it's like, why are we going to a pretty good place, right?
Let's go to a place that you really like.
Why
Let's
bother?
Do something.
Why bother with pretty good?
And you're trying to get to know someone and the things they like in their life, right? So you want, if you like someone, then you want to go out with them. You want to actually become more knowledgeable of who they are and the things they like and what makes them tick. It helps you get to know someone.
Yeah, now there was this time I was sitting there and I met the person there, and I said, oh yeah, I'm so thirsty. I've had such a big day. I'm running around and I'm parched. I wonder what I'll have. And he just kind of looked at me and like just kind of said nothing and let
He
me
was
go
waiting.
up.
He was waiting for you to like say what you wanted, and he was going to let you go get it. He didn't offer.
Yeah.
Oh, let me go get you a drink or anything.
No.
Really?
So I said, well,
gave
I
him
guess I'll go
hints.
to the bar and go get me that drink. And I was like, wow, why am I here again? Okay, so I go up and I was like, he didn't even stop me. So, I got up there and bought my drink. And then I said, okay, well, that's not going to work.
I'm gonna
You
drink my
invited here.
drink.
You've invited me here to buy my own $12 drink.
Right. Where'd you go? St. Regis?
No, I mean, it was just a dive place, right? Everything's $12.
Yeah.
Double.
I would not be in. I know, right? Well, if it's a double, then yes.
If I'm gonna have to buy my own, at that point I knew it wasn't going well.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
but
Okay, so you got a bad date to tell me. A deal breaker.
yeah, well, I finally could. We've known each other for a long time, but I can finally tell these stories because, like, some of the people have passed. It's too bad. Rest in peace. But some of the people are, no longer with us, so they can't really come back
And get mad
get mad. But yeah, I was on this date with a fella, and
with a fella.
it was when we had actual nightclubs in Atlanta, and they would have like a VIP area with big windows, and you had to know somebody to get up there, and you could be near the DJ, and you could see everything going on. I think it was Opera.
Yeah.
Opera. So I was up there on my date, and I could see my date with basically both hands, just like squeezing this girl's rear.
You're like banging on the window.
And,
Hey!
yeah, I'm kind of like zooming.
But he would
in.
never hear you because I remember being in opera and it's so gone.
But
Yeah.
it was kind of under the spotlight. And so then, there was some hugging and squeezing and more of that. And I went down there and said, what are you doing? And he kind of yelled.
Did he act like what?
Did like
Acted
what?
like what?
And
What are you talking about? You didn't do
yelled
anything.
and I remember I had like a little bit of ice and like a little bit of drink in my thing, and
Poured it.
I kind of went like that and got him, and I think he picked somebody else's drink off and like really doused me, and then the bodyguards came in. So yeah, that was
So
pretty bad.
rude.
And then the worst part was
He needed to go. He sounds terrible.
I got home and I was like, phew, back then you had to call a taxi. The bodyguards were
Yeah, there was
or
an
the-
Uber then.
The nightclub guards, whatever, were standing there, bodyguarding me to
Yeah.
get in the car safe. I got home, I got in my house, and he came out the closet. He was laying in wait and had
What?
busted
Psycho.
in my condo, and
Why didn't he just go home with that girl he was
I have no
fondling?
idea. I guess he wanted to show me who was boss, or some people
that's scary.
kind of take no, but yeah, I got myself in the phone. I remember having those phones, the wireless phone, landline, and he pulled the cord out of the thing, and then
Oh my God.
yeah,
That's
I was
scary.
I was trying to call 911. And
Yeah.
he busted the door, and I did get through. Actually, I think the neighbors heard something and called, and
That was when you lived in your condo.
yeah, I lived
Oh
in a
my
condo.
God.
And
That's
the police
scary.
came and grabbed him, and he just apologized, and
I'd be like, please arrest this fool. He needs
I
to
know
go.
I let him go. That was so silly, but
No, that's not silly. I think that could have really gotten out of hand. I mean, it was definitely going down that path of like serial killer kind of
I
stuff.
let a couple of you have him that may be watching this, and you enjoyed him for a while.
Well, that's okay
But
too.
that was pretty much,
Obviously, he was
that was it.
obsessed with you.
yeah. Why do I do that to people?
But he wasn't really nice. But it doesn't sound like it was a good obsessed. Like you want a good obsessed.
No, I think that he was afraid I was going to tarnish his reputation because he wanted to be the big man. My mom called it the BMOC, the big man on campus.
Oh.
I don't know. That's the alpha, But like I said, I mean, he was probably working 3 or 4 girls at the same.
Sounds like it.
And it was.
But
just
why was he
starting to
so
ooze
preoccupied
out.
with you? I mean, obviously there was something about you. You two had something going on, but that's just sounds like he could have let it lie and just let you go home. And if he really was preoccupied with other people, why show up in your condo? He had a key too.
No, he like busted through the
Oh,
where you
breaking
can
and entering?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
But the deadbolt wasn't done, so now I've learned that lesson. But yeah, I don't know. That was a bold move. Now, another time I was at a house and the fellow was trying to keep me in, and went and he had grabbed my phone and ran to the door to lock the door. And I had a bag there. I had been getting ready for something for a photo shoot, and I had a curling iron. And so he came after me, and I got that curling iron and I kind of did it like a lasso. So
Yeah.
I had that curling iron going, and he was
Well,
like,
what sparked this whole thing? What was the reason?
He was started to verbally, it was starting to go downhill, and he was feeling self-conscious about it. So he was starting to verbally, some people.
And you're
just
like,
have to
and it
lash
was your
out.
place?
No, I was visiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're visiting him. So he was antagonizing you.
Yes.
But you were trying to leave, but he
And I
wouldn't
was
let
trying
you
to
leave.
Yeah, and then he wouldn't let me leave, so I had to get the curling rod out, and maybe go after an appendage. I was like, "You want me to cut something off with this thing?"
Don't make me do it.
But I was really proud of
Curling
my
iron,
lasso.
that can do some
all that
damage.
watching Yellowstone,
You're gonna lasso him. It'll come back around, and
I
instead
got
of
the
being a hickey,
cowgirl.
it'll really be the curling iron this time.
But yeah,
Wow, that's scary.
I know. But you have to. Some people nowadays are. I don't know. It's just me. I attract that sort of sometimes. Oh, in the old days.
Well,
In the old days.
I think in the old days when we stayed up later than we should have, right? And we hopped around from different bar and club and all that back in the day. And I used to work in restaurants that were open late that became like a club at the end of the night, right? Clubhouse. And then you go to Beluga or somewhere like that. It's just hang out in a bar. It ends up being a dive bar or
Used
something
to
like
do
that.
a lot more of that.
Hang out till wee hours of the morning, and then you make positive decisions because
Yeah, right.
of
Make
these
good
things.
choices. You
Good
got-
choices. You keep doing this, and you make good choices.
I'm actually drinking my Modere pink lemonade energy drink right here. So enjoy your mocktail.
That's right. That's right. So, well, anyway, that to me, it's surprising to hear when women or even men. We had a guest on the show I did that had a fatal attraction situation with a girl that he dated, and then they kind of stopped dating, but she kept herself around, and then they they come back with this vengeance. They just have to prove themselves or whatever their deal is.
Yeah, it was a
And they
lot
just-
of defending.
Yes, defending, and then but that's when things get crazy. And now the other first story, did he end up going to jail? Did you press
No.
charges?
No, we knew too many people in common.
You
and
just let it go?
It's kind of hard. That it's like when it's like that's domestic violence kind of situations, and people don't really like to be around that kind of stuff. So
Even more reason for him to get himself checked by getting arrested and having a little bit of a story that he has to explain to newbies, because that's important too. I mean, then the next girl, what does she have to deal with, right? It's almost like a protector.
I think he probably counted his blessings and just quit that kind of crazy.
Well, we hope that
behavior.
they do.
And
I have a friend that keeps putting herself in those situations, and she dates people that have that personality. And then you find yourself backed up in a corner with fists coming at you, and then you think, okay, the last time I should have called the police. This time, what am I going to do? Am I going to call the police? Oh, well, then I'll maybe forgive him because he's crying now, saying he's very sorry. But when does that end, right? When do we ever wisen up or realize maybe for the next person, maybe not just for me, for my own protection, but for them? I mean, I actually had to call the police on a date, and I mentioned it in one of the other stories before. One of the stories that I walked out on, the dates that I walked out on, was with someone that I had known him for years. And he was actually friends with a guy that I dated when I first moved to Atlanta, like maybe a year after. And then we just remained friendly. We would see each other out. And he knew all the same people that we know. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you after the show what his name is. But he and I went out, and we became a little bit closer. And I don't know if you call it dating, but we went on dates. And he was really showing his ass one night. And I just felt my body move away from him, and next thing I knew, I was putting the key in my car door, and I was getting the hell out of there. And I was so grateful that my body was doing better than my brain, because I should not have been there around him anymore. He was just really embarrassing himself and me. He was at the Lobster Bar, and everybody knew the popular bartender that worked there, and he was trying to get in and acting like he knew him. Well, I could have gotten in throwing his name down too because I knew him better because I worked with him.
Yeah.
But he never said that's what we were doing. So anyway, that guy was rejecting us outside of the bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to go because he was just showing his butt, like really, really bad. And then when I finally left and he found me at the car and I was saying, the date's over and all that, that whole night he called, repeatedly called, blew up my phone, texting, calling. I'm going to come over. I'm going to come over. I'm going to show you. You don't walk out on me. I'm like, you have to stop. And I felt scared because I lived alone and he knew where I lived.
Yeah. That's what the mentality, and you're right. We
Yeah,
can't
his
let
pride.
that go. That was me decades. I don't get into those situations. And if you mess with me, it's 911, baby. I know all the police now.
Well, I did call the police the next day. I actually called the police because he kept on. I had to turn my phone off. But I use my phone as an alarm clock because I've learned the hard way that power outages go out and you can't rely on a plug-in phone,
Yeah.
So I always use my phone as an alarm clock, and I had to get up and go to work the next day. So I remember going to work and I had to call the police and get a restraining order against him.
Yeah, I mean,
because he wouldn't stop.
We've had to get the restraining order because sometimes they just have to be told by the authorities. And fortunately, in our county in Gwinnett, they do not mess with any of that.
No,
I don't know how the other counties are. But
that's when I lived in. Brookhaven, DeKalb County, Fulton, DeKalb County.
I think some people don't.
I can't remember.
They're so used to maybe relying on their looks or their money or for car, their job, and their prestige, and they
their
use
popularity,
that as that status symbol. And when they want somebody and it doesn't work out, and they can't take no, it can get aggressive. And it's too bad that people are like that. It's oftentimes, I think, just repetitive. I think
they get away with it.
Repeat, yeah.
They get away with it, right?
Yeah.
So when I got the restraining order, I signed it, and then he got served with it.
Yeah.
And he had no choice but to sign it because I had already filed it. So he had no choice but to sign it. And then I never heard from him again. I never saw him again. I never heard from him again. I'm like, I got to put this behavior on halt because if not just for me, for the next person, right? He's going to, that people that get away with certain movements, they think, okay, well, no one's ever going to mess with me if I go here. What if I go over here? Okay, well, they may not mess with me over there. And then the block is moved. And the next thing you know, they might hit someone or they might do something worse.
Yeah,
and
stalkers, you just really don't know. It's just real scary because some of them, I studied the different dimensions of stalking, and some of them,
it's a behavioral pattern.
Some of them, it's just like, oh, it's this adoration, and they put you on a pedestal. They don't want to hurt you. They just want to be around you like a celebrity situation. There's other people where you're out of their league and they can't deal with that. Like they don't know. Anybody on the outside would be like, dude, she's out of your league. Like, quit following her around. But then it can get aggressive and violent. So you have to be careful. Girls just need to be really careful of, use that intelligence, private investigative skills, and use.
Well, they have the thing on your phone now. If you press the sides of it a couple times, it'll automatically pop up for the emergency 911.
Yeah, right.
And you just slide it over, and before you know it, you're talking really soft.
That happens to
and
me
you're
like
calling
6 times
911
a day because, like, the way I deal with my phone, I'm like, no, it's not an emergency.
911.
But yeah, it's you
have to have an emergency plan in place.
Yeah,
just like a fire escape plan, you have to have the same on a date.
Yeah,
kind of precautionary measure because these days, so my friend was telling me in the last video, and if you haven't seen it, you can see the last episode. She was talking about there's a site that you can go to have we dated the same guy. It might work for women too.
I've heard of this thing.
For guys, if we dated the same girl, if there's crazy women.
I took a look at it for about an hour and it drove me insanity because I was like, I cannot read about all this crazy drama from these girls who think their man's cheating on them. I'm not going to live in that world. I'm living in the world of faith and knowing that I am projecting great energy and
putting yourself in the right
not
place.
Putting any of the, hey, crazy people come talk to me vibe out there. It's done. It's over.
I think why she mentioned it because she'd actually gone out with a guy that she realized might have been a big old DB, douchebag.
Oh.
And he turns out he was, because there were like 80 something comments on that
About
site
him?
about all these women. There might have been separate women. I don't know if she mentioned they were all separate women, but something, 80 something comments about this guy and his behavior and the problems that he caused, right? And they're like, oh no, I'm going on this site. And they did. She was like, well, I guess that's not a good idea. But as we said, there's a lot in Atlanta and in a lot of places, because we like Botox. I do Botox.
I
But
do
maybe
not
because-
do Botox.
Maybe because we do things that we can look better than most men, right? So there's a lot more beautiful women than there are good-looking guys that are straight. You got the problem with the gay guys that are hot, and then you're like, oh yeah, gaydar,
Well-
and he's off. He doesn't want me. He just wants to be my friend.
You know, I've been in Atlanta almost 29 years, I think. And, you know, I was in Louisiana for a while. I like the Southern gentlemen down there, but they're not real healthy. They like fried food. They like to drink. They like their starched shirts and all that, but they got, you know, a guy with a gut is just, it's not. But I've been traveling lately, and it's nice to see guys, you know, in different areas that, especially those Midwestern guys,
Yeah.
you know, they really know how to treat a lady and to be polite and kind of the people don't know about courting. Like it's like
Right.
still old school, you know.
You don't have to go straight to sex.
Yeah.
Courting is not. It takes its time.
Getting to know somebody really,
You
and
do
just
things-
seeing about if you are like
Even
the
like
same
the
things
person,
and-
yeah.
But also showing people how you show affection, because there's like the different love languages, but which I still don't have mine figured out. I want all of it. I want that.
Some people are all 5 love languages, right? Mine is acts of service,
Yeah,
and I don't
there's
need.
something like
There's another one.
can't even remember what they are.
Yeah, there's 5 of them.
compliments or something.
Mine's not. Mine is not gifts, and it's not recognition. The one
Yeah,
words of
recognition.
recognition. Mine is acts of service, and there's another one. Now I can't think of what they are, but mine
Oh,
are.
touch is one of them.
Yeah, that's men typically. Now little kids
Yeah.
have all 5.
Yeah.
But men typically have the touch. Oh, physical.
Yeah.
Physical touch. And then words of affirmation. And then the deeds. Acts of service, there's another one.
I'm all that. I don't. There's not one of those that I
You
want
need to read
really
the book
more.
again so you
I
remember
know.
what I had the book. Laurent and I read it, and then I read it separately. I did like my brother suggested
Probably
that I
acts
do.
of service when it really comes down. Because if you don't, like, if I say my dishwasher's out or something and you don't offer to help me, I'm really bummed.
Or you don't know how to fix things, don't go out with her. I like the fact that my husband knows how to fix things.
Yeah,
right?
he's pretty handy.
It's nice to have somebody that's handy.
He actually built you this lovely studio. Good job, dude.
Well, it is nice.
I've known her husband for longer than I've known her. That's hilarious.
It is. It is funny, but it is nice to have someone that actually properly knows how to court and is
Yeah.
interested in doing that, and that's their fiber of being, rather than it being forced. Like, okay, I really would rather be going straight to sex, but it's like that takes when people go straight to sex, they have to go backwards now and get to know someone. They go, I never even liked them to begin with. Well, why did you just
know,
do
right?
that?
Yeah.
Just start over
So
here.
if you're a guy and you're watching this and you think courting and you're like, why are they even talking about that? That's so old fashioned. Then
We
you're
all-
old fashioned.
then you're-
This is a modern date hacking thing, courting,
Yeah, it is. That's actually nice. I mean,
especially here in the South.
and even if you go to do something as silly as getting those little renter scooters and you go down to the Beltline and you go for a walk or you take a trail or you go in an Uber and pick her up in an Uber so y'all can have a cocktail and enjoy yourselves and not risk. I mean, little things like that matter so much, don't they?
Yes.
It's part of the planning. It's part of the thoughtfulness and part of the memories that you create when you go on a date with someone that you want to be lasting, right? Because you want to create a lasting impression, not that's good, that's not bad, right? You want the lasting impression to be good.
Oh yeah, like
So
I mean, if you
it
have
takes-
one
it takes
chance to make a
planning.
first impression and you're not like all in, like I had probably one of the best dates of my life, and I got surprisingly taken to the top of one of the very tallest buildings,
Hmm.
you know, in the world, and didn't know because I'd never been there. What was
Like
there?
Sleepless
So
in Seattle?
like a view, yeah. It was just not
Oh.
Seattle, but it was north a little bit. But it was so awesome because it was like a
New York?
surprise. And no, keep guessing.
Okay, now wait a minute. The tallest
You gotta check
building.
my feed. I mean, it was
Okay,
all
I'll
over
look.
Facebook. But anyway, no, it was surprised because
I'm like the Empire State Building.
you know, it's a really long ride up there, and they also have these windows that you lean on, and they go out like this. And
No,
you
I'm so scared of heights.
Oh, I couldn't even look at the people doing it.
I have
It
to
made
lay
me
down. If
nervous.
there's a cliff and I go towards the edge, I cannot even stand there because I feel like my body, maybe it's my energy, it's so busy that I would feel like I'm being thrown off. I have to like lay down and look over. And even then, I feel like my legs, it's so
No,
weird.
it was so crazy, and they paid extra for that. So anyway,
No,
I was like,
no,
no, thank
no,
you.
no.
But I enjoyed the deep conversation. It was a great vibe. There was places to relax and have a nice fancy
Mm-hmm.
drink with your trip up the however many flights, 65 flights.
Oh,
of
nice.
An elevator situation. So that's a way to go memorable. Is like go find a
Yeah.
really tall freaking building and go
And it
to
doesn't
the
have to be
top.
expensive.
No.
It doesn't have to be expensive. That's the problem. I think a lot of people think that's a mistaken thing with a quality date, right? They think it has to be this expensive, lavish thing. It doesn't.
No, it's just a little thing. And gifts too. I mean, the gifts can be such a tiny, tiny little thing,
A
but
flower.
you know, just
It
preparation.
could be a book. It could be a
Yeah.
book, like Good Dates Gone Bad.
Now you know
Volume 1 or Volume 2.
you know your date's going great when every time you go through a revolving door,
Oh, yeah.
you kind of get a little squeeze or a rub,
Oh.
and it's fun because like you can get two people into that part of the
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
squeezing, the door.
Uh-huh.
So make new traditions while you're on your date,
Yeah.
and then keep every time you find that revolving door, you can get a little squeeze or something like that.
Yeah,
That's fun if it's
cute.
going good.
Yeah, that's cute. I know, right? Well, it depends on where you're squeezing.
Never did that before. No,
Hey, I got through the door.
that's not what was going on. But anyway,
We
it was
know-
kind of fun.
we know
the
people-
revolving door elevator game.
There you go. Okay. Kind of like Elf.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Lee.
And you know what?
Cheers.
Stay tuned for more Good Dates Gone Bad. Okay? Go Knowles!
Hey, go Green Wave.
Woohoo!